All right, I just wanted to pop on and go over some of the 8.4 homework problems in case you guys have trouble with any of them. You just want to make sure that you're remembering all of your properties of logarithms and when to apply them, kind of like your exponent rules that we learned back in chapter 7. So for this one, we have log of 6 times log of 11. Remember, we can use the property to change our multiplication into two separate logarithms using addition. They will have the same base, which since there's no base written, it's understood to be a base 10. In example 3, we have both our power property and our quotient property. So this can come out front, and that would be 5 log of 6/11. And then we can break the division up using the quotient property into the subtraction of two separate logs. And there's two ways you can write it. You can either have 5 outside of a parentheses, log 6 minus log 11, or you could do 5 log 6 minus 5 log 11 and actually distribute. Either one of these is acceptable. Next one, we have a power property and a product property. So I should have log of 3 plus 3 log 2. And that exponent comes out front and becomes a coefficient. All right, the next one I kind of cut off, that's 2 to the 4th. So we have quotient and we have our power property. So again, that power is going to come out front and become 4 log 2 minus is the change for our division, log 5. Again, since this one is outside of both of them, you can either distribute it to each one or you can pull the 6 out front first. So it'll be 6 log 6 minus log 5. You either need to have parentheses around that or you need to distribute the 6 to each one. On your quiz, I would accept either answer without any point deduction. The next few, we have power and quotient as well. So this should be log 6x minus 6 log y. Again, either distribute the squared to be a squared and b squared, or bring the 2 out front first. Either one is fine. Again, as I said, you could do a squared times b squared first, and then bring the 2's out, whatever you prefer. I'm going to pause this and write out answers for 9. Now I know that number 11 is one that a lot of you will have a question about, so I'm going to make sure I explain that one really well. We have a cube root around all of this stuff. So you have to remember that a cube root is really the 1/3 power. So the first thing you want to do is change this to the log of x, y, z to the 1/3. Because we didn't have any like radical properties, we only had a power property from yesterday. So you then can distribute that to make it log x to the 1/3, y to the 1/3, z to the 1/3. Or you could bring the 1/3 out and then use parentheses. But this should get us 3 separate logarithms. We'll have 1/3 log x plus 1/3 log y plus 1/3 log z. And what the answer key does is it puts them over 3. So that is the same thing. Log x over 3 plus log y over 3 plus log z over 3. But you can absolutely leave them with 1/3 instead. Either answer is acceptable. The next one shouldn't be too bad. We are just splitting these up. And the last one, we need to move the power out front, so it'll be 2 log z. And on the back, they've asked us to condense each expression into a single logarithm. So on the front, we were expanding it. For these ones, we're going to go in the opposite direction. So if we see subtraction of two logs, that's our quotient property. We can divide. This would be log of 3 divided by 8. Now, it does not say to evaluate these, so we can just leave it as a logarithm. Now, the next one is a little bit tricky. It says log 6 divided by 3. It's not log 6 thirds. It's the log of 6 all divided by 3. So you actually need to rewrite this as 1/3 log of 6. And then that 1/3 is now a coefficient, which can go back up to be an exponent. So we would have log 6 to the 1/3. Remember, the 1/3 is actually a cube root. So you also could write this like the answer key had, which would be the cube root of 6. But for your quiz, I don't care which one you would choose. 15, we have our power and quotient. So we should have log of 3 to the 4th divided by log 8 to the 4th. You don't have to actually evaluate those numbers, we can just leave them. This one we have our product property, so we're multiplying a lot of numbers together. This would be log of 2 times 11 times 7, which would be 22 times 7, which would get us log of 154. Number 7, we have subtraction, which will be division, and we have our exponent that will go back up, so this should be log of 7 divided by 12 squared. If you want to make that 144, feel free. This one, number 18, is another tricky one. This is really 2/3 log 7. It's like a coefficient in front can be rewritten. So the 2/3 goes back up to be an exponent. So this will be log of 7 to the 2/3 power, which you can leave it like that on your quiz. I'm fine with it, but also the answer key changed it back to a radical, so this would be the cube root of 7 squared, or the cube root of 49. Either answer is fine by me. Number 19, we have powers going back up, and we will be multiplying this, so this should be log base 3 of, and you can either have u6 v6, or you could also write this as log base 3 of uv to the 6, since they're the same power. The next one has our natural logs. Remember, it doesn't change anything, it just means the base is an e. So this should be the natural log of x divided by y to the 4th. The 4 goes back up. 21, same thing, we have subtraction and a power. So we'll have log base 4 of u divided by v to the 6th. '23, we have powers and product. Log base 6 of u to the 20th, v to the 5th. Probably throw that in parentheses. And last one, we have log base 3 of u to the 4th divided by v to the 20th. And I did let you skip the critical thinking questions. If you wanted to try them, I will go over them, but they were not required. You won't see anything this hard on your quiz. So the first thing I did was my parentheses, which would be 2x divided by y. And this would be log of 3 times 5 to the 2nd. And then I took this 2 and I put it back up to be an exponent. You have to make sure that you square the 2, the x, and the y. And we can actually perform 25 times 3, which is 75. And then lastly, we have 2 logs being subtracted, which we do through division, so it should be 4x squared. When you had y squared and you're dividing by 75, it's like multiplying by 1/75, so 75 will go in the denominator with your y squared. That would be your final answer.
Please excuse the interruption. Francis Moore, please report to the Welcome Center. Francis Moore to the Welcome Center. Thank you.
And number 26 can't be simplified. It's kind of like a trick question. In order to be able to combine 2 separate logs into one, this would have to be a plus sign instead of a times sign. If it's a plus sign, then it would be log of 2x. Log of x plus log of 2. Then you multiply them, and you get log of 2x. That's not what the problem was. It was a times, and there's no property that allows you to simplify. All right, today for the rest of the class period, you should complete the partner challenge on Google Classroom. It will grade it for you and give you your score and correct answers. And study for your no calculator part of the quiz, which will be tomorrow.